Alexandra Feodorovna was Empress of Russia as the spouse of Nicholas II, the last ruler of the Russian Empire. Originally known as Alix of Hesse by Rhine, she was a granddaughter of Queen Victoria of the United Kingdom. Upon being received into the Russian Orthodox Church, she was given the name Alexandra Feodorovna and, having been put to death along with her immediate family while in Soviet captivity in 1918, was canonized in 2000 as St. Alexandra the Passion Bearer. Alexandra was the last Tsaritsa of Russia and one of the most famous royal carriers of the haemophilia disease that descended from Queen Victoria. Her reputation for influencing her husband's resistance to the surrender of autocratic authority of the country and her known faith in the Russian mystic Grigory Rasputin severely damaged her popularity and that of the Romanov monarchy in its final years. Early life. Alexandra was born on 6 June 1872 at the New Palace in Darmstadt as Her Grand Ducal Highness Princess Alix Victoria Helena Louise Beatrice of Hesse, and by Rhine, a Grand Duchy that was then part of the German Empire. She was the sixth child and fourth daughter among the 7 children of Louis IV, Grand Duke of Hesse by Rhine, and his first wife Princess Alice of the United Kingdom, the second daughter of Queen Victoria and Albert, the Prince Consort. Alix was baptized on 1 July 1872 according to the rites of the Lutheran Church and given the names of her mother and each of her mother's 4 sisters, some of which were transliterated into German. Her godparents were the Prince and Princess of Wales, the Tsarevich and Tsarevna of Russia, Princess Beatrice of the United Kingdom, the Duchess of Cambridge, and Princess Anna of Prussia. Her mother gave her the nickname of Sunny, a practice later picked up by her husband, while her British relatives gave her the nicknames of Aliki, in order to distinguish her from her aunt by marriage, the Princess of Wales, who, while having the given name Alexandra, was known within the family as Alix. Alix's haemophiliac older brother Prince Friedrich of Hesse by Rhine died in May 1873 after a fall when Alix was barely a year old. In November 1878, diphtheria swept through the Grand Ducal House of Hesse. Alix, her 3 sisters, her brother Ernst, and the father fell ill. Elizabeth, Alix's older sister, had been sent to visit her paternal mother, and thus escaped the outbreak. Alix's mother Alice tended to the children herself, rather than abandon them to doctors. Alice herself soon fell ill and died on the 17th anniversary of her father's death, the 14th of December 1878, when Alix was only 6 years old. Alix, Victoria, Irene, and Ernst survived the epidemic, but the youngest sister, Princess Marie, did not. Alix and her surviving siblings grew close to the British cousins, spending holidays with Queen Victoria. With her sister Princess Irene, Alix was a bridesmaid at the 1885 wedding of her godmother and maternal aunt, Princess Beatrice, to Prince Henry of Battenburn. She was also present at her mother's Golden Jubilee celebrations in 1887. Engagement. Alix was married relatively late for her rank in her era, having rejected a proposal from her cousin Prince Albert Victor, Duke of Clarence and Avondale in 1890, despite strong familial pressure. Though Queen Victoria had intended for Alix to be Britain's future queen, she relented, accepting Alix's objections as indicative of her strength of character. Alix had already met and fallen in love with Grand Duke Nicholas, heir to the throne of Russia, whose mother, Empress Maria Feodorovna, was a sister of the then Princess of Wales, and whose uncle Grand Duke Sergei Alexandrovich was married to Alix's sister Elizabeth. Alix and Nicholas were related to each other via several different lines of European royalty. The most notable was the shared great-grandmother Princess Wilhelmina of Baden, mother of Alix's paternal grandfather Louis III, Grand Duke of Hesse, and Nicholas's paternal grandmother, Empress Maria.Alexandrovna of Russia, making them second cousins via this line, and King Frederick William II of Prussia, who was simultaneously the great-great-grandfather of Alex and the great-great-great-grandfather of Nicholas, which in that line made them third cousins once removed. Nicholas and Alex had first met in 1884 at the wedding of Nicholas's uncle Sergei to Alex's sister Elizabeth in St. Petersburg. When Alex returned to Russia in 1889, they fell in love. Nicholas wrote in his diary, "It is my dream to one day marry Alix H. I have loved her for a long time, but more deeply and strongly since 1889 when she spent 6 weeks in Petersburg. For a long time, I have resisted my feeling that my dearest dream will come true." Initially Nicholas's father, Tsar Alexander III, refused the prospect of marriage. Alexander III and his wife, both vehemently anti-German, had no intention of permitting a match with Princess Alix and the Tsarevich. Although Princess Alix was his godchild, it was generally known that Alexander III was angling for a bigger catch for his son. Someone like Princess Helene, the tall, dark-haired daughter of Philippe, Comte de Paris, pretender to the throne of France. The prospect of marrying Helene did not appeal to Nicholas. Mamma made a few allusions to Helene, daughter of the Comte de Paris. He wrote in his diary, "I myself want to go in one direction and it is evident that Mamma wants me to choose the other one." Fortunately for Nicholas, Helene also resisted, as she was Roman Catholic and her father refused to allow her to convert to Russian Orthodoxy. After appealing to the Pope, who refused to even consider the marriage, the relationship ended. The Tsar, despite his anti-German sentiments, then sent emissaries to Princess Margaret of Prussia, sister of German Emperor Wilhelm II, who, like Alex, was a granddaughter of Queen Victoria. Nicholas flatly declared that he would rather become a monk than marry the plain and boring Margaret, who in turn stated in any case that she was unwilling to give up her Protestant religion to become Russian Orthodox. As long as he was well, Alexander III ignored his son's demands, only relenting when his health began to fail in 1894. At first, Alex was troubled by the requirement that she renounce her Lutheran faith and become Orthodox, but she was persuaded and eventually became a fervent convert. The Tsar and Tsarina were not the only ones opposed to the match. Queen Victoria wrote to Alex's sister Victoria of her suspicions that Sergei and Elizabeth were encouraging the match. The Queen's opposition stemmed not from personal feelings about the Tsarevich, whom she personally liked, but her misgivings about Russia, including past political experiences, her personal dislike of Nicholas's father, and fears over her granddaughter's safety. Engagement in April 1894. Alex's brother Ernest Louis, who had succeeded his father as Grand Duke of Hessen by Rhine in 1892, was to be married to his first cousin, Princess Victoria Melita of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha, daughter of Prince Alfred, Duke of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha, and his wife, Grand Duchess Maria.Alexandrovna of Russia. The wedding brought a number of relatives to Coburg, Germany, for the festivities, including Queen Victoria herself, the Prince of Wales, Kaiser Wilhelm II of Germany, and the Empress Frederick, mother of the Kaiser and eldest daughter of the Queen, as well as being Queen Victoria's godchild. Victoria Melita, as a granddaughter of Tsar Alexander II through her mother, was also a first cousin of Nicholas. The Tsarevich headed up the Russian delegation, which included 3 of Nicholas's uncles, Vladimir, Sergei and Paul, and 2 of his aunts by marriage, Elizabeth Feodorovna and Maria Pavlovna. The day after his arrival in Coburg, Nicholas proposed to Alix, and she rejected him on the grounds of her refusal to convert to Orthodoxy. However, after pressure from the Kaiser, who had told her that it was her duty to marry Nicholas, and her sister Elizabeth, who tried to point out the similarities between Lutheranism and Russian Orthodoxy, she accepted Nicholas' second proposal. Following the engagement, Alix returned to England with her mother. In June, Nicholas travelled to England to visit her, bringing with him his father's personal priest, Father Yanishev, who was to give her religious instruction, along with visiting Alix and the Queen. Nicholas's visit coincided with the birth and christening of the eldest son of Nicholas and Alix's mutual cousin, George, Duke of York, and his wife, Mary of Teck, and both of them were named as godparents of the boy, who would reign briefly as King Edward VIII in 1936. Later that autumn, as Alexander III's health began to further deteriorate, Nicholas obtained the permission of his dying father to summon Alix to the Romanovs' Crimean palaces of Livadia. Escorted by her sister, Elizabeth, from Warsaw to the Crimea, she was forced to travel by ordinary passenger train. The dying Tsar insisted on receiving Alix in full dress uniform and gave his blessing.